I know I talk a lot about the subject of dreaming on this podcast and in my content and other places. In fact, one of my most common responses to people expressing their dreams of homesteading is for me to say, keep the dream alive. I love saying that, and I truly mean it. But I'd be doing a real disservice to you if I didn't share how I go about keeping my dreams alive. So that's what this episode is about today. I'll be sharing 6 steps to keeping your dreams alive and making them reality. This is the Homesteading for Beginners podcast, and I'm Mona Weathers, your homesteading mentor and coach. I'm here to encourage you to pursue your homesteading goals with the right mindset in a way that is healthy for you, your family, and your community. If you desire to establish a solid foundation for your homesteading journey, then you are in the right place. Join me as I share stories from the past 20 years of my own journey, as well as practical and actionable steps you can take to start and maintain a healthy homestead. I am a big dreamer. I have been since childhood. One of my most favorite activities to do to entertain myself as a child was to daydream. All I needed was my Walkman and my classical music on cassette tape. Yes, I'm that old. And a long road trip to get me into full daydream mode. What did I dream about? Mostly horses. Riding horses I didn't have yet along the countryside. I have specific memories of road trips in an old French red car that we had called a Citroen. The countryside used as the backdrop for my daydreams was the German countryside. It was when I was living in Germany with my father and my sister. I was around 11 or 12 years old. I remember getting really good at riding my horse over fences and through ditches. And obviously we were going super fast because I was, keeping up with the car. As a child, my mind was in the clouds. I had no way of making my dreams of owning horses become reality, except begging my parents for a horse, which I did often. But all I had was my dreams at that point. My parents knew reality and the fact that we couldn't afford it and we couldn't commit to the care of a horse. And as I grew older, I understood more and more about how much was involved in owning horses, but I still kept my dream of owning horses alive. Before we get into the 6 steps, I want to talk about this balance we can have with dreaming and reality. This balance of having our heads in the clouds, but also standing on firm ground. I believe the key is in the planning. Dreams rarely become reality just because we wish them to, and living without dreams can be awfully boring. How we plan will determine the steps we need to take to always be moving forward, always taking steps forward toward a goal. Having your eye fixed on the goal for long enough that it feels like it's so close. And then getting to the point where you feel like the person you are becoming is super key. Not to pretend to be something that you're not, but to have a solid grasp on what it will take to become your future self. As you dream about starting your homestead, adding to your homestead, living as a financially comfortable homesteader, or whatever it is that you're dreaming about, remember the small steps you take today can move you closer. Setbacks also won't affect you as much if you have your eye fixed on the goal. This is why I have the Homesteading for Beginners checklist, the Homesteader Simple Planner, the Homesteading for Beginners workbook and workshop, because I know how powerful planning and focus can be. I used my daydreaming horse story because horses have been a huge part of my life since my childhood dreams. It also reminds me of something all horse trainers tell their riding students. Look to where you want to go so the horse knows where you want to go. Do you know why they say this? It's not because our eye will tell the horse the direction. It's because your eyes influence your head. Your head influences your shoulder, arms, and hands. Your shoulders influence your hips, and your hips influence your legs and feet. And a well-trained horse can understand the slightest cues for direction. Same is true for goal setting. The first insignificant seeming steps will affect other decisions, priorities, and plans. So that is why I use that story, because it always reminds me of how goal setting should be, that we need to fix our eyes on the goals. And a fun side note, there's a very special guest coming on the podcast, and we will be talking about homesteading with horses. I'm so excited about the topic and the guest, but you'll have to wait until after I interview her, because I want to make sure it's a done deal for the podcast. Here are the 6 steps to keeping your dreams alive and making them reality. Number 1, get clear on your dreams. Know exactly what it is that you are aiming for. But fixate, not to the point of destroying relationships or anything, but fix your eye on the prize, basically. Fix your eye on the goal. Know what it is exactly it is that you want. So if you know you want a certain amount of acreage for your homestead, or if you know that you want to raise cattle on your homestead, or whatever it is, just fix your eye on that. Know exactly what it is that you want. Number 2 is write your dreams on paper. Put it somewhere where you can see it daily. This is really important. I don't think we understand enough about our subconscious. I don't think the average person understands enough about their subconscious. I certainly don't, still to this day, understand how much our subconscious can play a part. And when we don't realize that we're saying certain things to ourselves. I see this a lot in negative. When you say bad things about yourself in your head or out loud, you hear it. So when you say positive things in your head out loud, or you see it, or you say it in your head, or you say it out loud, you hear it. So please remember that you have more depth to you than you may realize. So write your dreams down on paper so that you can see them daily. Number 3 is tell other people about those dreams, even if it's uncomfortable. Speaking your goals out loud will allow others to be in on the transformation, first of all, and it will also allow you to hear yourself say it and kind of commit to it. But don't get scared about this, because I feel sometimes people feel that if they say it out loud, then they have to do it, and if they don't do it, they failed. Well, just don't see it that way. Just see it as, I'm living this life just like everybody else. I have goals and dreams just like everybody else, and this is the way I'm going to help myself reach those goals and dreams. Number 4 is write down the next step you need to take to get closer to your dreams. Break it down into small steps. Think turtle, think tortoise, think how small of steps they make, but they still get to their destination. We had actually found a turtle. I found a turtle in my horse stall when it was really muddy. It was just like stuck in the stall. And I didn't know if it got stepped on. So I took it and I put it in a tote for a day or two. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't like crushed or something, because it clamped up into its shell like immediately after I picked it up. So I was worried that it was harmed, because I've picked up tortoises before. I think it was a box turtle. I mean, I've picked up turtles before, and they never did that. They usually like flail around and make their head come out really out, like they want to get away. And so this guy was so closed up, like he closed completely up. I've never seen them do that. So I was worried it got hurt. So I put it in a tote and kept it for a couple days. Well, that turtle, for one, was determined to get out of this tote. And it was actually not a tote. It was the bottom of a cat litter box, the kind that's shaped where you can have a lid on top. So after day 2, it was feeling strong enough, apparently. And my daughter said, she texted me. She said, "Did you let the turtle out?" So it was sitting on top of a table in this cat carrier. And I said, "No." And apparently it had just jumped out of the, it somehow got out of the cat litter box and then fell onto the ground. It seemed fine. It was still moving around and stuff. So she put it in like going towards the woods so that it could walk into the woods. As we were like, well, it's obviously wants to get away. It knows where it's going. So we put it somewhere. And then my other daughter found the tortoise, like it was probably about an hour later, found the tortoise up the hill where she goes out to do the chores. So she was going out of a gate. And she's like, I think I found another turtle. It's the same turtle. But the point is, the turtle knew it wanted its direction. Actually, I think that was the wrong direction, but maybe that was the easiest way for it to get around because of different things. The turtle knew its direction. It took an hour to get there, and it wasn't very far, but it got there. And then we ended up putting it in the woods to where it was closer to our little seasonal stream. But it was just like that story of the turtle and the tortoise and the hare. I've shared that before. The tortoise and the hare is just, if you just take steps toward anything, even setbacks won't affect you because you're going forward. You're still going forward. So write the next step. The next step could be like, break it down so that it's small. Like the next step could be, whatever goal it is that you want. So for me, owning horses was my big goal, right? So my next step was learning more about horses. This is why I've talked about books. Book knowledge is still valid. Even if, I read so much about horses before I even got to ride one. So that was my first step. And then a next step would be get to know horses, work somewhere where I can learn more about horses. And so I was able to do that as well. Get riding lessons. That was another thing. And it progressed. So, and then the number 5 is check off the steps that you made. Make sure that you're tracking your progress because you will get that, that excited feeling when you've accomplished something. But also it just tells yourself, I'm making progress. It tells yourself, I am going in the right direction. And then number 6 is the easy one, but a hard one, is repeat the process. Repeat the whole process. Start at the beginning. Get clear on your dreams. Make sure that as you progress, that you're clear on your dreams and that you know exactly what you're aiming for. And then write those dreams down on paper. Put it somewhere where you can see it. If it's the same dream, if it's the same goal, keep it there. Tell other people. Give them progress updates. Tell them, even if it seems like they don't want to hear it, tell them anyway. I mean, it's so that you can hear yourself and so that they can see what's happening, so that they don't go one day, oh, I didn't know you were interested in that. They can see, and you can pick a person. You don't have to tell everybody. Picking somebody who's supportive is probably the best option. And then write down the next steps. Write down what it is that you need to do next. And then check those steps off once you accomplish them or once you're in process or something. And then repeat. That is how I got my horse dream to become reality. I didn't just keep it in my mind. I didn't just have it as something I was in, my head in the clouds all the time. I didn't have that I had the childlike dreaming still, but I didn't keep it there to where I couldn't make it reality. So this is the way I recommend. If you have like something else that you would add to this list, I would love to hear it. I would love to hear what your thoughts are on this. So you can email me at mona@healthyhomesteading.com, or you can send me a message on Instagram. I read all of my Instagram messages, unless you come at me with like some, hey baby, or or something like that, or you're obviously trying to sell me something. I may not answer those, but I answer everybody else's. So just say, start with, I listen to your podcast. That'll for sure get me to listen and to read your message. So also, I wanted to let you know that I'm going to be changing up the format again. I won't be splitting episodes up into 4 parts anymore. Interview episodes up into 4 parts. That was a bit of an experiment, as well as I needed time. I needed more time. This is podcasting and creating content is not for the faint of heart. It's not for people who don't have vision. You really need to have a vision, and I have a vision for my podcast, and all the things that I'm doing to help you, get closer to your dreams. But it also requires a lot of work. So sometimes I have to do things, even if it's not, uh, even if it's not something that everyone wants or agrees with. I still have to do it because it's my capacity. So knowing your capacity is very important. So I will be splitting up interviews into two long interviews. So if it's a long interview, it will be split up into 2 episodes. Shorter interviews won't be split up, but I like to stay around 15 to 30 minutes. That is based on some of what I've heard from other people, that they like shorter episodes, but also has to do with my capacity for creating content. I will also not be doing Tuesdays, Thursdays anymore. I will be doing 2 episodes still, but when I split up an interview, I'll just do the 2 parts of that interview and then a solo episode. So it'll be like that. It won't be back and forth. That was the part that I felt was really disjointed and I didn't really like. So I wanted to make sure that I changed that. So it won't be Tuesdays, Thursdays, solo episode, Tuesdays, Thursdays, interview episode. It'll just be interview, solo, interview, solo. So if an interview is 2 episodes long, then the next one will be solo. My whole thought here is that I just really want to get more information out to you. And before I was only doing 1 episode a week, and now I'm doing 2 episodes a week. So I'm getting more information out to you. It might not come all at once, but it's more information. So anyway, that is all. And I hope you have a wonderful day. I would love to hear from you. But also, I really would love 5-star reviews. If you have them in your Apple, if you have Apple, 5-star reviews would be very helpful to getting this word out for this podcast. So if you can go and open your Apple app. Also, I think Spotify has it too. So if you have Spotify, that would be great too. But Apple is one that platform is the primary platform for podcasts, apparently. And that's where most of podcasts are being listened to, is on Apple Podcast. So if you could put a 5-star review, that would be awesome. And I will talk to you next week.